The Women of Ill Repute, with your hosts, Wendy Mesley and Maureen Holloway.
Well, hello.
Hey, Maureen, I can't believe we're actually doing this. Oh my God.
It has been such a long time since we've actually put out a new episode, and this is a new episode, except we don't have a guest. As you probably know, I hope you noticed, we've been absent for a few months.
Since
And
June, but don't tell anyone. Yeah.
but there's been a lot of conversations been taking place. And anyway, we're back. I don't even know how to set this up. A lot of changes this is not a farewell episode. But yeah, we are making some moves. So, Wendy, why don't you take us down the history of women of ill repute?
Well, the history is this a test? Am I going to be marked?
Not by me.
Yeah, it is a little bit sad, but we started this. We thought it would be easy, you know, a couple of trailblazers. We're going to do a podcast. We're going to call it Women of Ill Repute. Interview brave and funny women, and then men, and then we became the Women of Ill Repute. And anyway, it was all going to be very easy. We started at the beginning of 2022.
You proposed the idea the night before New Year's of 2021. We were visiting you, and you had your little notebook ready, and you said,
Yeah, there was no wine involved.
"Oh."
There was no wine.
And you said, "I've got this idea," and I said, "Okay." And so that was January 2021.
Yeah, and I think on the piece of paper I had Jane Fonda.
Yeah, I know.
We were going to interview Jane Fonda and a couple of other like super famous people. Well, I guess I can now admit that we're not going to get Jane Fonda.
Well, watch after this episode. Her people will be in touch. But so how many episodes have we recorded?
We have done. Well, it depends whether you count the summer episodes because
They were re-releases.
Re-releases, yeah. Well, we used to call them. Wow, there was all kinds of words for them when I was at CBC, but they were re-releases. If you include those, there's 99, so 95. I guess
95 episodes.
Yeah.
I thought at the beginning, I said, okay, well, let's see if we can do half a dozen. And I remember after the first three, which were Mary Walsh, Jan Arden, I think, and Jody Wilson-Raybould. I remember saying, "My God, this is impossible. I'm exhausted." And that's 3 episodes, but we managed to crank out 95.
Yeah. Well, we started doing it every 2 weeks, and then we did it every week because we thought it would be fabulous, and people would line up, and it would be easy. Only it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy, and they didn't line up, but it's not like they didn't show up. And by
Yes.
they, I mean you,
People.
the listener or viewer who's with us today. So, a little practical history. We engaged a production house, Sound Off Productions. Matt Kundle runs it, and he gave us absolutely invaluable advice. Invaluable? It was valuable. It's one of those words like inflammable, flammable, both.
He was wonderful.
He is wonderful, and he taught us so much, maybe more than we could absorb. And
he said it would take 2 years, and now it's been 2.5 years.
Yeah,
and
he said 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, for normal people, you and I aren't normal, and so here we are.
We had to learn how to chase down guests, which I found very difficult. You didn't mind so much, but then we got Belgraver, who became our chase producer, and she booked all our guests, and she did a lot of the research on them. And
she did a YouTube channel too.
Well, she set up a YouTube channel, which is still there. We had to set up a website. We had to find a website designer. We had to pick music for the podcast. We had to promote this is where we fell down. We had to promote the podcast on social media, and we are both admittedly terrible at that.
Well, you're better than me. I mean, you are
which
the
isn't saying much,
genius.
frankly, with all the love of my heart.
2 of us.
We did have Kate McQuaid helping out there for a while, but then she went off to do bigger things. And then we had to start a newsletter on Substack, and we're going to get back to that because it's very key. And most importantly, if you want to pay for these things, we had to pitch the podcast to potential sponsors until we got Jordana Katz. And then we lost Jordana Katz. I mean, not in a terrible way.
No, she got a really good job.
She joined
unfortunately for us.
Yeah, one of those evil media empires, one that I used to work for, and I'm sure she's killing it. What else? We made tote bags. Or we had someone make tote bags.
Well, someone made tote bags. I've got a
Someone made tote
couple,
bags.
yeah, in a drawer here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we never really got organized, and
Well, I think that's a pretty impressive list of accomplishments.
I'm very proud of what we did. It was honest and brave, and we thought that people would.
Naive.
We thought we would be
Huge
like
stars.
yeah, we were trailblazers, so
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
would line up. Anyway, so here's the bottom line: we can't really afford to keep going. Life is short,
Well, it's
and
the
it's a
way
lot of work.
we can't continue with this model
Yes, we have another
specifically.
model. You know what? Most, with few exceptions, most podcasts only make money for the Joe Rogans of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really expensive hobbies for their creators, particularly if they're independent, which we are. We did have, and I don't mind telling you this. So a couple of weeks ago, I think in September, we had a session with an American podcast consultant, and he's very successful and he was really helpful. But first of all, he suggested that we put $100 to $150,000 into marketing our podcast.
Yeah, no problem.
After we fainted and then we were revived and came to, he said that we said that's not possible, maybe for somebody, but not for us. So he suggested that we set this podcast up as a paid subscription.
Yeah, but we didn't like that because why sell you the cow when we're giving the milk for free?
We're giving the milk away for free. And then we also considered selling out. When we did, we were ready to sell the podcast to a big evil media company that would control what we did, but at least make it financially possible to continue. But so we made this big decision that we're gonna do it. We don't care, and nobody offered, nobody bid.
Well, my excuse is that everybody is being fired by all of the media companies, so it's not
No.
just us.
No, but when you say, okay, we're going to whore ourselves out, but there are no Johns. There are
Well, there's nothing like whoring yourself out with no customers.
with no
Well,
customers.
we have a few. So yeah, we
Well, we
stalled.
know, but we couldn't. Nobody wanted to pick us up and pay us for this, at least not so far. And I mean, that was a long shot anyway. So we stalled
Yeah.
and we hemmed and we hawed and we looked at all the possibilities. We're still looking at them, but and this is, I guess, the announcement. We've decided that we're going to consolidate our assets.
Ta-da!
Which sounds very professional, but what does that mean?
Well, we are moving to Substack. Everything, the podcast, we do newsletters already. It's an online platform and it's designed for people like us, for writers, basically, for journalists, comedians, cooks, creators of all kinds. And you once told me that the thing that you really didn't want to give up was creating. And so
Yeah.
you're a creator, and I
creators
am
got to
too.
create, right?
Yeah.
But
So it's subscription based.
Mhm.
You have to sign up, but you don't have to pay anything unless you want to. Although,
so all right, we've been on Substack for 2 years. We write a newsletter there, and it comes out every week, and we actually have a few thousand subscribers over there, and quite a significant number of people pay for the newsletter. As I mentioned, we publish it every week. They don't have to, but they do. And I remember the first time we got a paid subscriber. I think I almost cried. And they come they come in regularly. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the existing episodes, all 95 of the podcast, to Substack because they have a podcast platform as well, a sub platform as well, and we're going to make them available there. But you can still get them, on Apple and Spotify and wherever you're getting this podcast. It will still be available. But we're moving to a new home.
yeah, and Substack is really cool.
It is.
Yeah, I keep saying to people that sadly it's where all the cool people, all the smart people, like write stuff or do podcasts, and
Or just subscribe and read.
yeah. So if you're interested in following and supporting us, and we obviously hope that you are, and some of you already are, either as a paid subscriber or for free, that's where we'll be.
And so we thought what we would do is we'd also put some stuff behind a paywall because that's what all the cool kids do, to entice you. So there'd be like extended episodes or special projects or, behind the scenes stuff and, like the darkest secrets of our past.
I got lots of secrets, although I've put a few of them out there on
Yeah, you
Substack.
did.
I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
top secrets. Yeah,
Yeah.
who knew?
Yeah.
So tell me now, what are your biggest
Well,
secrets?
we could also just put up, cookie recipes. Or wait, we could put up dark secret recipes of the past.
I don't think I have any recipes. You're
No,
the
you
only one who
don't.
cooks.
Okay. Well, I wanted to, so there's all sorts of possibilities. So yeah, that's oh, and also perhaps most importantly, if we may continue to do the podcast if we are so inclined and if we can afford to do it.
Yeah, so on substack.com, I'll give you the like how to find it if you haven't found it already. It's substack.com, women of ill repute, which is us, women of ill repute dot substack.com.
Or you could just go to substack.com and type in women of ill repute and it'll take you right there. So
Yeah, or
it's
just
easy
put
to
Mo's
find.
name or my name.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's really, really, really easy to find, and then you sign up and then you pay.
Well, you don't have to pay.
You don't have to pay. We just like it, but you don't. You can sign up and read everything for free. There's a
y-
lot
y-
of really cool people there.
yeah. Yeah. Say who else is there?
Yeah. Well, people who have been on our podcast, like Lauren Huff.
Yeah.
She has a new book. If you follow her on Substack, she is writing the new book, and it's only 6 months behind schedule, which is like most authors. Leah McLaren, who's also a controversial person, but a really great writer. Jen Gerson, who they've all been on the podcast.
They've all been on the podcast, so it's a natural move for us to be
Except
there.
Margaret Atwood.
Margaret
I would
Atwood.
love
Margaret
to
Atwood
have
is
Margaret Atwood.
okay. Margaret Atwood writes for Substack,
Yeah.
and it's funny and freewheeling, and a lot of very respected writers. And if Margaret Atwood isn't one of the most respected writers on the planet, I don't know who is. Use it as a sort of outlet for kind of less focused projects. So for that reason, I thought it was perfect for us.
I would love to get her on our podcast.
well,
Whatever, even if we only do one more. If Margaret Atwood is available, I would do her.
You would do her. Yeah. Well, for sure. Who says no?
Yeah.
I want to mention of all the guests, we had some very big names, like Pamela Anderson, although, some of the most interesting stories came from people that you would not know, that we did not know until we met them. We were approached to interview the prime minister, who at the time, at press time, was still Justin Trudeau. In case things have changed.
Yeah, no, I think we're okay for another week. So it
Yeah.
depends when you listen to this, and maybe for another year. Yeah, no, that's top secret. We're not supposed to tell anybody
Well,
that.
it didn't come through. So to hell with your top secrecy, that we were approached and we said, of course, but then that didn't come through. So
Yeah, well, he did a bunch of podcasts, and we wanted him to do ours, and we were like, yeah. So, and we would have probably asked, like, I have never interviewed somebody before with another person until you.
wow.
Yeah,
So I'm your first threesome.
I know with Justin.
Which, wow, if that doesn't get us subscribers, nothing ever will.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I'm thinking back to the big names. Well, I guess we had Mary Walsh was our first
Well, she
one.
was our first. She was,
Yeah.
and you know what? I have a special place in my heart for all the people that said yes to us out of the get before we. I mean, I don't know how we did it, but nobody had heard. Well, people had heard of us, but the podcast thing was complete. They were like Jan, who's so wonderful. She said, "Yes, of course. Why wouldn't I talk to you, ladies?" And we've had so many people, and then it was a lot easier in the second year. But
Well,
a
I
special
found
thank you.
Jan, Jan, but I
Mhm.
found access to her through Rick Mercer, who
Right.
also was our first man
Our
on the
first
podcast
man.
because we
Yeah.
decided, well, we're the women of ill repute.
Yeah.
And I am really struck by Rick repeatedly. Does that sounds physical, but it's not. But he said something in that interview about talking to Americans, which I thought was like just such a great series. It was 20 years ago that he made fun of Americans, and he said that he was sorry that he couldn't actually make that today because it was too jokey.
It's a different time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
In
really
some ways,
interesting.
we are freer, and in other ways, we are so constrained. People are so easily offended. And I would have liked to, in fact, now that you bring that up, I would have liked to have pushed the line further with this book. I mean, we called it Women of Ill Repute because we wanted to, blaze some trails and have an impact. But we had people who where their publicists said, no, they won't talk about this. I won't talk about that. And so, we're really constrained. But hey, let's not forget, we talked to the laundry lesbian. We talked to Scarlett Bobo, the drag queen, and the topless people. I mean, the people themselves weren't topless, but they made a movie. It was Carol Doda, who was a famous topless burlesque performer. So yeah, we had our fair share of misfits and button pushers.
Yeah, we also had some really sort of famous women like Marie Hennon, who I don't agree with entirely about everything. And
Mhm.
it's not just that she makes like 10 times more than I do. Well, maybe
Well,
100
she's
times
a
more than I
lawyer.
do now.
She's a very
I
successful
know.
prosecutor.
I know. Well, that's not the reason. It's because she supported, or she didn't support, she
Sorry, wait, hang on.
defended.
She's a defense attorney. Let me just, for the record, Your Honor, she's not a prosecutor. Go on.
Yes. So she defended Jian Ghomeshi. So it was really interesting to talk to her about that, even if we didn't 100% agree with everybody. So I loved talking to her, and I loved talking to Colin Mockery.
Yeah.
The When we started doing men, because he talked about how, well, it was your idea. There's a introvert, extrovert, and
And an
ambivert.
ambivert.
Yeah,
A
so
lot of
he said he was an
ambiverts out
ambivert,
there.
and he
Yeah.
walks down the street, and all of these people think that he's a dick, but he's not
Because why do people
because
think
he's
he's a
so
dick?
shy.
Oh,
He's so
yeah.
shy,
Yeah.
and you told me that you are an
Yeah.
introvert.
Nobody believes that.
I
But I
know.
am. Well, I am.
Well,
I
now
am.
I know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this was one of the nice things that one of the real gifts that came out of doing this is we were friends before we started this, but we've become very close friends. And I mean, we make fun of the fact that we've had our fair share of arguments and disagreements, but I think one of the things that makes me sad, and I know it makes you sad because you're really sweet about this, is that we're not going to have a reason to see each other on a regular basis. And that alone kept us going for a while. Um,
Well, I
because
remember
you
I'm
don't live
having a
here.
flashback to the
Yeah.
first time we ever talked about this, and this time there's no wine involved. Not that there was then, but I remember saying to you, "I hope that this doesn't harm our relationship."
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Then you told me I wasn't funny.
well, I don't remember that. Well,
That was our first and really only fight.
I think we've had a couple. I don't even
Yeah,
remember that
but that
one.
was the first one. But anyway, it doesn't matter. That's just it. What doesn't kill you makes you closer. So
Yeah,
anyway,
well,
that
I
was
do think that you're funny, and I have learned that you are an introvert, and it's funny because I guess the first blush of romance is over. Yeah,
the
so
honeymoon is
I
over.
know, and so like when now we know each other really, really, really
We know each
well.
other really, really well, and
Yeah,
all for the better, I think. So that's why we don't want to. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but this is why we don't want to hang up the microphone and say this is it. We're going to continue writing. We write every week on Substack. We've been doing that, religiously, which is a
yeah.
weird
Well, you wrote
expression.
one that was
Yeah,
great. It was my favorite. Was about all the stupid things that you've
stupid
done,
things.
including some smart ones. But that your son Ronan has
He
written them
keeps a
all
book.
down.
He keeps a list of the stupid things I say, which are hilarious, and they're not
Yeah,
stupid. They're just off
yeah,
the cuff, sweeping generalizations, which I make
yeah.
all the time.
So I wrote more serious ones about the real reason why Lisa Lovelam quit. You should read that one.
That I did.
Well,
I
not
read
you,
all of them.
but
I read about your trip to Gaspésie with your husband and daughter, whom I love.
yeah, it was kind of a travelogue, kind
Yeah,
of a love story.
it's
Anyway, I'm learning
nice.
how to be personal, and I still am the only one who thinks that I'm funny. But
No, no, you were very. That was a real revelation. You are a complete goof, and I love that about you.
yeah,
So don't
well,
ever
who knew that a
change.
news anchor could be more goofy
Do you remember when we
than
built a fort in my basement?
well, we will. I don't know. We have to. Maybe this is a reason to get Margaret Atwood on and do a podcast.
Well, okay. So just back because this is what we want to hammer home. We're not finished.
Substack.
We're just moving.
Yeah.
And Substack, just we want you to come with us and sign up either for free or as a paid subscriber. By the way, it's in case you're wondering what it costs. This is a little $6 a month. It's like buying us two cheap coffees once a month.
Yeah, or one really good one.
or one really good.
And then we could fight.
So, I mean, or you can pay more, but that's basically it. You can
Yeah.
subscribe for free, or you can get all the added content that we haven't figured out yet, but we will.
Yeah,
But
well, there's
mostly
a
just
lot
show
to figure
support.
out. So who knows what the future holds? This is not the end. It's a new beginning,
Yeah.
as they say. So yeah, who knows what the future holds? But
Let me
yeah,
leave everybody with this interesting statistic because I don't consider the last 2 years anything but a huge success and learning experience. We have been and continue to be in the top 5% of all podcasts in the world. Sadly, only 1% are profitable. But as our American consultant told us, that could change. The Canadian model is still way behind the American model. So, anyway, in the meantime, we're here not for the money, but for you.
yeah. So I hope you'll check us out, and I hope that we do more podcasts. There is a little bit of life getting in the way. Who knew that there's life
Yeah, there's a life outside of,
outside
working
of
for the
podcasts?
CBC
But
or for
yeah,
yeah.
we'll still do that. So we'll see what the future holds. See you on Substack.
And thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you to you listening or watching, and thank you to you, Wendy. I love you.
I love you too.
Women of Ill Repute was written and produced by Maureen Holloway and Wendy Mesley, with the help from the team at the Sound Off Media Company and producer Yet Belgraver.